Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. My name is Gub, and this is my channel. Today's video is going to be a little bit different compared to most of my other videos, aka my only one other video. Actual video is a gaming video. This is a voiceover over a little bit of gameplay of Outcome Memories, because I have decided to finally release my own custom Eggman Outcome Memories rework concept. While the game is cancelled, I still greatly enjoyed and still do enjoy playing the game. So to celebrate the fact that we even had this wonderful little game that, well, sometimes had its ups and downs, I still enjoyed my time. It was a good game. I remember coming home and being ready for it. I remember my first time playing it. I was there since day one. Dude, I believe the first character I ever played was Tails. You can probably tell how that went if you know Outcome Memories, which I assume if you're watching, you do. And I'm also creating multiple other rework concepts, but Eggman is the first one that I've produced and have fully gotten around to thinking on, as I've had this concept ready for like multiple months, even before the game got canceled and scrapped and all of the drama, the true drama went down. These concepts were always just kind of in my brain floating around, and I'm finally getting them out. These reworks and movesets for characters can include characters that would have, are in currently, or would have, are characters that are unconfirmed to have been potentially coming to OM. So characters like, say, Infinite. I have a moveset for him ready. Or characters that were unconfirmed. I believe Surge is one of them, or Kit is another one. Both of those two I have ideas for, particularly Surge. I'll get to that one when I get to that one, but that's not today's video. Today's video is on Eggman. And so, Eggman. Eggman will have 3 abilities and 3 passives. There's an asterisk around the 3 abilities. This is for a reason, keep that in mind, or don't. I'm not your mother. My goal is to change Eggman from what he is currently, a simple survivalist, into one that forces you to produce something that I feel like a lot of people would love to produce. A master plan. Because in Eggman's LMS, I love to be saying this, he has a line that says, "This won't foil my master plan." And that's stuck with the community so much that people have decided to, like, all of the memes about Eggman are about him having this master plan, this grand scheme. And then you look at the actual game, and it's really funny because he has 2 abilities and a passive, well, 2 passives. And he's mostly self-centric. Don't get me wrong, he helps other people sometimes, depending on what Eggman you play with. And that's not exactly the point of this either. It's just to have a master plan that you can progressively work on over the start of a round, over the course of a round, rather than just kind of sitting there and laughing at the executioner, which is very funny. I have nothing wrong with the current Eggman moveset. This is purely in good fun. I should note before we actually fully begin, I am not a game developer or somebody who knows the correct balance. Most of this is just kind of me rambling and trying my best to balance it. But of course, it's not going to be perfect. So I need you to have a little bit of leeway and be like, don't get absurdly upset if something seems unbalanced, because of course this is only a concept. In practice, this will probably never be actually added to any game, unless, we'll get to that later, unless a game wants it to, in which case I guess you can. If you like the concept enough, go ahead. I don't mind. This is all in good fun. And to begin, we'll start with his 3 passives. His first one is going to be his double jump. And we're turning it into something that requires a bit more foresight. A charged jump instead of what it is currently, a simple double jump. If you click space, a normal jump will be performed. We all know this. This is a very very common thing. This is how almost every other game works. If you click the jump button, you do a jump. But now if you hold the button, you'll start to charge. Charging a jump as Eggman will slow you down by roughly 50% and cause a loud audio cue of a jetpack whirling up. Yes, even if you don't have the jetpack accessory equipped. No, I don't know the lore. Maybe he has rocket shoes or something. I don't know why he has a jetpack boost ability when he doesn't naturally have a jetpack, but it's a game. Who cares? We have a good time here. And after roughly a second of charging, he'll be able to perform a jump that is twice as high as normal, thus being practically, on paper, a double jump. If you charge for 3 seconds, he'll go 3 times higher, and if you charge for 5 seconds, it'll be 5 times higher. This passive would have 3 charges, working similarly to something akin to Tails' laser cannon meter, where it fills up progressively from the bottom to the top, but there's different little sections of it, 3 sections, that being at the 1, 3, and 5 intervals. It takes 10 seconds to regain the first one, 15 seconds to regain the second one, and 20 seconds to regain the third one. So if you use all 3 of them, it'll have a 45-second cooldown on your charge jump. Do not worry though. Theoretically, you would only need the first 10-second charge to perform a 1-second charge, and thusly a twice as high jump. But if you wanted to do a 5 times jump, it would take 45 seconds until you'd be able to perform another one of those. If you didn't use any other charge jump. It should be noted that there is a cooldown separately, so you can't just spam charge jump over and over again. That being 10 seconds if you only charge it for 1 second, 15 seconds if you charge it for the entire 3 seconds, or 20 seconds if you charge it for the entire 5 seconds. This is all added up to get the 45 total second cooldown if you would use all 3, but that's to recharge it. This is just after you use it until you can use it again, no matter how much bar you have. You have to wait for 10, 15, and 20 seconds respectively. Next we have metal support, which works mostly exactly the same. It just allows you to help a Metal Sonic heal quicker. That is quite literally its only point, exactly like how we have it currently in the game. And finally we come to his last one. And this one's going to reveal a little bit about what's going to be happening in the future here. His third ability is called Empire. Or third passive, sorry. Empire. Which allows him to know where every single badnik on the map is. Yes, badnik. We'll get to that in a minute. Including Metal Sonic. Metal Sonic would also get this passive, but he wouldn't be able to see where Eggman is. Only Eggman is aware of where Metal is. Metal is not aware of where Eggman is. This is an ability that will be used later on, other than for obvious reasons as of now. This is a part where I can see there needing to be a couple balances for Metal particularly, for the Metal aspect particularly. Perhaps Metal would be only pinged to Eggman every couple of seconds, maybe every 5 seconds you get a brief ping of where Metal is, so that it's not constant knowledge. But then again, Amy's over there with a card that allows her to know where everyone is on the map at all times. Unless the Executioner was recently stunned, but that's a bug, I believe. So, potato. His first ability, similarly to the game TD, The Disaster. Ooh boy, The Disaster. I never actually played it, but I played Eclipsed. I've heard good things about The Disaster, though. I just wasn't in the Sonic ASIM game until Outcome Memories came out. Probably would have liked it. Anyway. He has a Zapper ability. Similarly to TD, he'll pull it out and charge it for a few seconds, roughly 2.5 to 3 seconds, depending on what would feel better, and it'll allow him to launch a hit scan projectile of electricity, which would have 3 purposes. It can be used to overclock a badnik, we'll get more into that later, overclock metal, or slow down the EXE for roughly 2 seconds. For now, we're just going to talk about how metal would be changed by this, as he would heal instantaneously by 25 HP and gain 25 extra over health. This would slowly deplete over time over the course of roughly the 25 seconds. So 1 HP a second. His destructive charge would also become substantially faster, but at the cost of it being a little bit harder to control. Because, well, you're faster, of course. It also increases the push duration of the charge. As long as you have any sort of overhealth, this will be active, by the way. So if you get zapped and you use your destructive charge at like 1 over health, you'll still be quote unquote overcharged. So it'll be like how it is currently in this mental demonstration. Because the duration of the push is longer, and thusly you can get the EXE further away, including the extra speed, so you can really get them away, this does substantially more damage to Metal Sonic. The extra HP and extra overhealth will only take you so far, especially if you can't get into action immediately. His second ability is an energy shield, which is exactly the same as it is currently. I didn't really see a need to change this ability, as it does what it's supposed to do, and in this kit it works pretty dang good, as you can use it to build a badnik in a problematic scenario, or charge a jetpack jump in a problematic scenario. It just generally works out in this moveset a good bit that I feel like it fit. It works exactly the same as it currently does, roughly lasts 5 seconds. If you get hit, if the executioner hits you with any ability that's close range or melee, it'll stun them for roughly 1 second. Basically just that, but in this scenario. Finally, his final ability is Mode Switch. This ability allows him to switch his 2 abilities into Deconstruct and Construct. Do you know about a particular video game character named Engineer from a little game called Team Fortress 2? If you do know about the Engineer from Team Fortress 2, it works kind of similarly to that, where you have the ability to build these creations around the map to do something to the executioner. It's kind of similarly to Dimensional Coalescence Eggman, where you build mines, but these are not mines, these are badniks, as classic Eggman is very reliant on badniks, like Metal Sonic, but also things like Motobugs, Chompers, Grabbers, Buzz Bombers, and just etc. Those ones, Crab Meats. By the way, those are all 5 of the ones he has. Construct allows you to construct badniks. We'll get onto that in a moment. Deconstruct allows you to deconstruct them, blowing them up at any distance, at any time, and refunding the parts. We'll talk about that in a moment, but first we'll go on to construct. You can have up to 2 Motobugs, 3 Grabbers, 2 Crab Meats, 1 Buzz Bomber, and 3 Chompers. That sounds like a lot, right? And that's the point. Each badnik is weak on its own, meant to be a minor, yet numerous, annoyance to the actual executioner themselves. Like in the actual Sonic the Hedgehog games. Traditionally. Once constructed, the Motobug will allow you to set a point. It will then move in a straight line from its point to that point. Once it reaches the point you set from its construction position, it'll turn around and go back to its construction position and continue going back and forth until an executioner steps within a range around the Motobug. Once they do, it'll charge straight at the executioner, slowly turning until it either hits the executioner, misses, or 3 seconds go by. If the executioner is hit by the Motobug, they'll be dragged along quickly until they either 3 seconds goes by or they hit a wall, in which case the Motobug will explode, not stunning the executioner but letting them go. After 3 seconds, the same thing happens. If it misses and has to turn around to hit the executioner again, it'll immediately just explode. The Motobug, of course, can't jump, so the counter to this one is simply to, well, jump. It's meant to just be a little bit of pressure that if they don't see coming, they'll get punished. Our next one is the grabber. The grabber, once constructed, will slowly rise up until it hits a ceiling. It'll then wait there until the executioner walks under it, in which case it'll quickly try and drop down and grab the executioner. Of course, the higher up the ceiling is, yes, this includes invisible ceilings like on Not Perfect, Angel Island, or any map that doesn't have a true ceiling, the skybox works fine. Don't worry about the logistics. It's just gameplay purposes. Of course, the higher up they are, the longer it'll take for them to get down, and thusly the less efficient they will be. After they grab the executioner, they'll pull them back up to where they were originally, and then after a second they'll explode and release the executioner. The time frame is from when they get grabbed to there. They can't move or anything. It works kind of like a pseudo-stun where they're not actually stunned, but they get grabbed, as per their name. So technically, the higher it is, it's harder to hit the executioner, because even when the thing is low, it'll take a second before it actually starts to drop and try and grab. So the higher they are, the longer they're held there for, or the longer that it takes for them to get back up to the top point. But the harder it is to hit. But the lower it is, the less time it takes to grab, but the less time they'll be held. After about a second of it being held in the position that it is on the ceiling, the EXE will be immediately dropped after a second, and the grabber will explode. This explosion will do nothing. It is just purely cosmetic, similarly to the Motobug. Crab meat acts similarly to the turrets from TD. Once the EXE steps within a particular range around them, they'll be shot by little tiny quick-moving projectiles. They visibly get hit, but it's continuous as long as they're in the range, like the turrets. It should be noted that this slowness is a pure slowness and does not actually prevent M1s. It is also not as strong as Silver's Rock Throw. It can be stacked because you get 2 crab meats, and as such, you can stack similarly to TD, but of course, dividing and conquering is another option you have. And is only slightly stacked. The Buzz Bomber floats slightly in the air, and if the EXE steps within a range, which is bigger than crab meats, it'll begin charging up a shot, which takes roughly a second. It'll then fire out a large, slow-moving projectile that if it hits the EXE will be launched back slightly and stunned for about a second. This is particularly easy to dodge in open spaces, as the projectile is rather slow, and the stun is only for a second, so it's not that big of a deal, but it is something to watch out for. It floats slightly in the air, but you can just jump, and then you'll be there. All EXEs would be able to do so. It doesn't float that high. Like noted, all slowness effects applied by the Zapper and Crab Meat do not actually prevent M1s, unlike Sofa's Rocks, and they are actually significantly weaker than them. The final one is the Chomper, which I'm sure you're asking, that's a fish. How are we going to go ahead and have a fish in the game? Well, it's simple. If built on land, it'll flop around like a magic harp, and will only activate when stepped on. Once stepped on, they will start nibbling on the legs of the executioners, slowing them down. Again, they can still M1, but they cannot M1 the chomper off until it is done in about 3 seconds. If built in water, it will do exactly the same thing, except instead of just flopping there, it will instead swim actively towards the executioner, and then try bite them and nibble them. The two water sources where this could happen are on Green Hill specifically, and that little tiny patch of water in the back of Mystic Caves. Both of these will slightly allow it. Of course, Mystic Caves might be a bit finicky, but definitely a Green Hill. After about 3 seconds, it'll fall off and explode, not stunning the EXE because, well, only one of them stuns the EXE and it's only for a second. All badniks are one-shot by any M1 in the game. This is simply so that you can take them out. So if you can react quick enough to any of them, you can take them out in one shot. But we aren't done yet. That's the end of his technical moveset, but we still have some other little quick things to go over before we will wrap it up. When destroyed, the badniks you cannot immediately build another badnik. Instead, drops. Badnik parts will be dropped around the area where they were destroyed. Eggman will get a ping of each individual one every 5 seconds, similarly to Metal Sonic in the Empire passive. Once all of them are collected, that individual badnik can be reproduced again. This goes for all badniks after they are destroyed. All badniks, including Metal Sonic. If Metal Sonic is killed, he can be revived by an Eggman one time with 75 HP and his self-repair being completely replaced with self-destruct, giving him a second life like in TD with the same purpose as a kind of meant to make you feel like a hero. Because I love that idea for Metal Sonic. In fact, my Metal Sonic rework is going to be very reliant on you wanting to be a hero. So look forward to that. But for the time being, while we're just looking at Eggman, he would be revived with 75 HP maximum because you can no longer heal with self-repair. And he'll gain the self-destruct function. This can only be done once. Each badnik takes roughly 5 seconds to build, while Metal Sonic takes 15 seconds. The last thing that we have to talk about here is when you overcharge any of the badniks. The Motobugs and Chompers move faster, so they're easier to, well, actually connect with the executioner. Significantly easier for the grabber. When Crab Meat or the Buzz Bomber are hit, the Crab Meats fire faster and have a slightly stronger slowness buff, similarly to the turrets again from TD, and the Buzz Bomber will take less time to charge up the shot, and it'll move slightly faster, and stun for 2 seconds instead of 1 second. This will only last for 1 shot, though. And finally, the Chompers stick on for 5 seconds. Well, actually, no. Let's go and say 7 seconds from their original 3 seconds. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was my Eggman Rework cosplay. Concept, not cosplay. Huh? Anyway, I've had this idea floating around in my head for months. It's nice to finally have gotten it out. If you enjoyed, just know I have some other concepts. In fact, a day after I get this video out, which is hopefully the day I'm recording this, I will be releasing a poll on my channel to decide which characters, yes, characters, I look at next. Because some of them I'll be working on solo, but other ones that come in a team, like Team Sonic Heroes, Team Rose, Team Dark, what is Shadow's team called? Team Shadow, I think. Team Evil? The Evil Team? I don't know. Or Team Metal. Yes, Team Metal. As in Metal Sonic, Tails Doll, and Metal Knuckles. Again, this is just for fun. and any other character we might have. So that's going to be coming up. But before I fully go into a little thing for any upcoming Sonic ASIM that for some reason sees this video and is like, I like this idea, feel free to use it as long as I get a, credited in some way. It doesn't have to be a big thing. You don't need a massive statue of me in the middle of the room saying, this man made concept. No, you don't need that. I just need like a little text box saying, Eggman moveset created concept by Gub or Gupmaster09. Of course, that is assuming somebody wants to use this, which I don't think anyone would. Anyway, enough wasting your time. I hope you enjoyed. Farewell. Hasta la pasta.